What if I told you there's a way to invest in real estate and legally pay way less in taxes, sometimes even zero? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it's not. And today I'm going to explain exactly how this works. You're not going to need a CPA degree. You're not going to need fancy visuals or a whiteboard with arrows all over the place. I'm just going to walk you through it plain and simple. Talking head to talking head. So let's go. First, let's talk about why real estate even has these benefits in the first place. When you own a rental property, the IRS lets you write off a lot of stuff. Think about the cost of running that property, your mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, repairs, insurance, even the mileage you put on your car when you drive out there. It's all potentially deductible. You can also write off something called depreciation, and this is where things start to get powerful. Depreciation means you get to write off the value of the building over time. Not the land, the building. So if you bought a place and the structure itself is worth, let's say, $1 million, you get to slowly write off that value over 27.5 years. I know, random number, but that's what the IRS decided. That's like getting a paper loss every year. Even if the property goes up in value, you still get to write it down like it's going down. Crazy, right? But here's the thing, all of this only helps you if you can use those losses to offset your income. And that's where most people hit a wall. See, back in the 80s, the IRS said, hey, too many rich folks, doctors, lawyers, high income earners, you guys in Silicon Valley, are using real estate to wipe out their tax bills. So Congress passed this thing called the Passive Activity Loss Rule. Basically, they said, if you're not in the real estate business full time, well, your rental property is passive, and passive losses can only offset passive income. So if you're making $300,000 from your job and only $20,000 from your rentals, well, you can't use your real estate deductions to touch that $300,000. You're stuck. All those juicy write-offs just sitting there, carried forward year after year after year, waiting for a future when maybe you sell the property or suddenly become a real estate pro. That's the rule. That is the wall. And that's where most people stop. But not us. There's a loophole in the code that's still legal, still active, and incredibly useful. It's called the short-term rental loophole. Now here's how that works. If the average stay in your rental property is 7 days or less, well, the IRS doesn't consider it passive anymore. That means it can be classified as active income. So now those same expenses, mortgage interest, maintenance, repairs, depreciation, can offset your W-2 or 1099 income. That is a game changer. But wait, this is not automatic. You have to meet one more requirement. In order to use this loophole, you have to materially participate in that property. So what does that mean? The IRS gives you a list of tests. The easiest one, and the one most people aim for, is the 100-hour rule. That means you personally spend at least 100 hours of working on the property that year. Things like messaging guests, cleaning, coordinating repairs, setting prices, and nobody else did more than you. So, if you hire a cleaner or a handyman, that's fine, but you need to be the one who spends the most time. And if that has to add up to 100 hours for the year, that's like 2 hours a week. Totally doable. Now, if you pass that test, the IRS says, hey, cool, this isn't passive anymore and you're actually making active income here. Boom. Now you can take those paper losses and use them to reduce your W-2 wages or self-employment income. Now let's take it a step further. What if I told you that instead of writing off your building slowly over these 27.5 years, you could write off a big chunk of it all in year one? That's what cost segregation lets you do. It's a study that breaks your building into parts. Appliances, carpets, lighting, furniture, countertops, cabinets, all the stuff that doesn't typically last 27 years. These parts usually depreciate over 5 or 7 years, but you don't have to wait that long because of something called bonus depreciation. Now, here's the big news. As of July of 2025, this year, a new tax bill passed. It's called the Big Beautiful Tax Bill. It was quietly during the fireworks weekend and brought back 100% bonus depreciation. So what the hell does that mean? Well, it means that all those short life assets like appliances, the fixtures, lights, the flooring, can be written off in full in year 1. So now not only can you deduct your operating costs, but you can write off a huge portion of the building itself. And because of the short-term rental loophole, you can use those write-offs to reduce your actual income, not just what your rental income is producing. Game changer. So let me give you a real example. Let's say John is a marketing executive making $250,000 a year. He buys a $500,000 home, single family, and turns it into an Airbnb. Totally doable. He brings in $50,000 of rental income, roughly about $4,000 a month. His regular expenses like mortgage interest, repairs, insurance, all that, they total about $30,000. But then he gets smart and gets a cost segregation study done. Okay? That study finds $200,000 in stuff that he can depreciate early. Because of bonus depreciation, he gets to write off that full $200,000 in year 1. So now he has $230,000 in deductions total. But remember, he only made $50,000 from the Airbnb. That leaves $180,000 in losses. Now, thanks to the short-term rental loophole, John can apply that $180,000 loss to his $250,000 W-2 income. So instead of being taxed on $250,000, well, he's only taxed on $70,000. Now, depending on where John lives in his tax bracket, he might save $40,000 to $50,000 that year in tax obligations, legally. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, Ramin, I don't have $500,000 lying around. Totally fair. But this works even on smaller properties. You don't need a mansion. It works on a condo. It works on a $300,000 townhouse. It works on anything in any good location. And if you already own property, well, you might be able to reposition it as a short-term rental and take advantage of this right now. Now, the key here is the average stay needs to be 7 days or less, and you need to spend 100 hours on it per year and more than anyone else. And you need to get a legit cost segregation study done. And that's it. This strategy isn't new, but in 2025, it just got supercharged because bonus depreciation is back to 100%. So if you're thinking about real estate, or if you're already in it, or if you're tired of writing big checks to Uncle Sam every April, this is the move. Talk to a pro, get the right team, and do it right. Now, if you want help figuring it out, hit me up. Otherwise, now you know.